What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Halving Report podcast with myself, your host, Brad Mines. The price of Bitcoin is approximately $28,000 US, and there's only 51 weeks left until the next Bitcoin halving. Plan accordingly. Today, we have Tom Gillespie back on the show. Today will be Tom's second time on the show. Last year, we had him on to talk about his investigation into Hex and the documentary that he was making. This year, he is using the minting of NFTs for votes into which cryptocurrency he's going to choose next to investigate. So everybody, without further ado, welcome Tom Gillespie back onto the show. You like to use VR chat? What do you like about VR chat?
Honestly, just the absolute roll of the dice, the chaos. There's you can go into so many different worlds. Just go world hopping and meet some of the brightest minds. Hanging out amongst some of the most stupidest people. And so I think it's just, like in real life, usually you have like different parts where, the rich people live over here. The fucking poor people are over here. The idiots are here. The children are there. The pensioners are there. Everyone's somewhat segregated by the nature of the reality of where they live. Whereas in VR chat, they all get thrown in the same in the same space at the same time, and it's just like it's chaotic, and I quite enjoy that.
Yeah, I can relate. Like I was saying too, like the game I play, you get people from all walks of life in the same virtual reality. It's kind of funny to hear some conversations. People, you get children on there, but you also get older guys that are like in their 60s playing this game too. People that haven't played or haven't been a gamer in the past have come online since VR because of just the new tech. It's kind of interesting to see it play out. Let's dive right into it. You are launching your investigation into PulseChain. What's the current state of that?
Well, just to correct you, I am launching the vote for my next investigation using this the bitjoinery.com, and essentially that is a way for the public to choose what I investigate next. And at the same time, I'm bringing in building a collective for that studio, if you like. And the PulseChain investigation pitch video, I'm putting out pitch videos at the moment. That one just went out now, but there is also CBDCs. The Metaverse is an investigation documentary I'm curious about. There's Solana up there. There's Ethereum proof of stake. There is Tether. There's Ripple. So I think there's 8 votes at the moment, and there's 8 pitch videos coming out. 4 of them are out already. 4 will be out next week. And basically, it's up to the public if they think this project's worthy of me and my collective's investigation time. Then they'll go ahead and vote for that project through the bitjoinery.com, which I've started to basically bring on a few of the tools that the blockchain ecosystem offers. And the first time around, the Hexicans, they voted for me to come and make that documentary. So I didn't decide to do that. They came and voted, and that's what won, and that's what sent me on that journey. Same thing applies here. The only difference this time is instead of a vote, which is essentially just pressing a button on the internet, they have to mint an NFT at the bitjoinery.com. And this action fills the treasury of that collective. They're called DAOs, decentralized. It's not really decentralized, and it's not autonomous. It's just some sort of loose organization. So it's halfway, a third of the way there to becoming a reality. But essentially, if a project mints out, say CBDCs, 909, each of them have got 999 votes. That mints out completely. Then we go ahead and we make a production documentary investigating that project. And because 999 votes fills the treasury, that actually gives us right now would be somewhere between $30,000 and $35,000 to start just to make a production. So you see how I've turned the action of the public's intent or wishes into a direct way to fund the collective's efforts at producing the next documentary. So I think that's quite an interesting application of the technology. I've not seen it before, but
Okay, so I'm on bitjoinery.com here, or .uncut.network here. I think it just brings
yeah,
me here.
that's where we do all the asset management. Yeah.
Okay, so here I can see Metaverse investigation vote, the ETH POS investigation vote. So I need to pay the $34 or 0.018 ETH in order to cast my vote on which investigation I would like you to launch. Is that accurate?
Precisely. However, all 999 need to mint out for it to be considered a win, and for the production motion to start. Oh, everything's on Uncut. You can see the smart contract. You can see the treasury address. You can see everything. The website's a work in progress. It's something I just started chipping away at last week. But
Okay,
everything on Uncut is what you see. You see all the numbers and all the
I see
relevant
now.
links. But just if I may, I'll just bring you through the process quickly as I can. Assuming one of those projects mints out, right? What happens is you'll see some NFTs there they're the roles. There's joiners, there's authors, and there's hypers. Authors are able to submit video, audio, text, scripts, whatever, content for the production. Joiners put that shit together and make the production itself. And then at that point, it gets passed to the hypers as another NFT, as the full production NFT, right? And the hypers are basically sales and marketing. They go out and hype it and make sure it sells. But the beauty of what we've built here is that production, assuming, let's for example say it's Pulse, right? Pulse won the vote. Pulse went through the process. It's been minted. The documentaries are minted as an NFT and passed to the hypers to distribute and pump, market and what have you. There is a split mechanism on that NFT, which kicks back to not only the collective that built the documentary, not only the treasury that maintains the sustainability of the collective, but also the winning voters as well. They get a kickback as well every time that NFT is sold. So you see how I've designed some sort of system here which benefits or directly compensates, kicks back to those people that brought the value in the first place, right? Only those people. There is no accumulation of wealth towards a studio. It's all essentially, well, the treasury comes first because the treasury is what keeps it sustainable. Collective need to be compensated. And then the voters who won out the vote get a kickback, residuals, whatever you want to fucking call it. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it can be simple for the folks that are familiar with this ecosystem for sure. Just I kind of clicked around, you got like 50 votes on or so on each of your investigation vote options here. I'm seeing a lot of them are 50 and they're airdropped. Did you give away the first 50 or what's that mean?
Exactly. So those people that have come in and minted, there's the author, hyper, and joiner roles. There's only 50 of those roles available, right? Once they're minted out, they're minted. That's it. 150 mints can be had by the general public. So once that's what builds the collective. There'll only be ever 150 of those that can participate in a production. Now, as I was working through and experimenting with this Uncut platform, I wanted to basically thank these early participants, these early adopters that went and minted these free roles, the hyper roles, author roles. And so, yes, every time I brought a new NFT onto the platform, I airdropped it to those guys directly as a thank you for being here. You can think of it as like seeding the network a little bit, I guess, just to say thanks. You were the first here. I believe you should be. And I can't do that now because it's all, those have already been minted or distributed to a certain extent. So that power's gone now. However, there are burn mechanisms to reduce supply that we can look at in the future. But I should be clear that this is not really a DAO. This is more like a startup, right? It's just kind of different way to approach building a startup, but it's specific to the studio production niche for documentary filmmaking. So in regular documentary, you have pre-production, production, and post-production distribution. And in this system, the authors are doing pre-production and production. The joiners are the editors. They push all this content together to make the documentary. They're the editors. And then the hypers are, your distributors, and then out into the real world, where hopefully we kickstart the cycle, assuming that people really want to see this Pulse documentary or whatever wins. Everybody is going to benefit from that NFT whenever it sells, and we try to we can kickstart the cycle again, trying to build a kind of perpetual production studio machine using this technology, which I know I'm not exactly I don't think there are any professionals in this area, to be honest. I think everybody's just kind of experimenting and toying with things a little bit. But what I have noticed is a lot of people put a lot of unnecessary barriers to entry into their structures, and for example, voting on every little single small aspect is unnecessary, right? It just puts a lot of bureaucracy into place and slows the whole fucking process down. So looking for ways to create as least amount of friction as possible, whilst making sure everybody is fairly compensated for their creative input.
So you're kind of decentralizing the production of your documentary.
I'm taking lead from the technology, or the fundamental value propositions of blockchain technology. So to a certain extent, I'm moving in that direction, yes. And I was heavily influenced by the guys over at BitJoin Studios, of course, hence calling it the BitJoinery. It's an evolution of what those guys were trying to do. So yeah, I guess you could say that to a certain extent, but I don't think it would be fully realized as decentralized until it had, a lot more intricate elements to how the participants interact. And for me right now, it's just let's see if we can get a fucking run a fucking production through this thing and see if it actually holds fire, because it's not until that production gets distributed and all the voters start seeing kickbacks to their wallets, all the collective members start getting kickbacks, and everybody sees the treasury fattening up as well, again, for the next fucking round, right? Because when people see those numbers, people will start to believe, okay, this actually fucking works. And, whether we ever get there or not is another question.
Now, I'm just looking at the price of Hex today. It's down to 5 cents. That was your first investigation, or sorry, second after Scooter Coin. It was Scooter Coin the first investigation you had, and then came Hex. Right. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's right, mate.
Okay. So are you still I know you bought, we were in the bull market last time we spoke, and you had bought into Hex. You're staking it, if I'm not mistaken. Are you still staking? Did you get your money out? We're on day whatever 1200 and something with Hex. Has your opinion changed on Hex? Because last time we spoke, you kind of alluded, you didn't say it outright, but you sort of alluded that Hex was a scam, and hence why we had so many angry Hexicans in the comment section. Just so I wanted to get your thoughts in and around that.
Yeah, I'm not staked. The stake ended, is shown in the final episode of the series, but the hex was, it was provided to me by the production company. So I was using their hex to try out the product. So as far as I can see, if I look at that wallet, it's still sitting there, the hex that was used for that production, and It's not staked. It just sits there. I don't know what they have planned for it, mate. But what I can tell you is, I it's a shame you haven't seen the series, mate, because the Hexagon's reaction in January of this year, earlier this year, was extremely positive, which I was somewhat shocked at that response, to be honest, because I thought it was quite a good critique of the not only the ecosystem but the behaviour of Richard himself and some of the more high profile community members. So when I saw that most of these influential people within the Hex community reacted so positively, it made me think that they are not necessarily maxis stuck in a echo chamber of their own creation. They are capable of appreciating an external perspective that was, I think I was fair and balanced as well. It's not like I didn't come into that investigation with a bunch of preconceived notions about what was going on, even though that might be, that might have been what many thought in those early days. I mean, I spent nearly a year, just under a year and a half with the Hexagons. I don't think a lot of people have that much time for any communities that they're not necessarily already, highly invested in or what have you.
Yeah, well, it's quite the vibrant community. Like I said, the coin is still around, the token is still around. There's still a huge growing community, it seems. Watch Richard Hart; he's a very convincing individual. I see the criticisms about him as well. I don't know if they're that valid or not, or bear too much weight on his reputation.
I said it in the first time we interviewed, mate. He's a character, right? I mean, if you're looking that closely, you'll realize that just a few months ago, he switched up his entire online persona from the Gucci guy exiting Harrods to, if you look at his profile now, he's gone back to his childhood
Yeah.
memories or what have you. So he understands how to play social media game, and he's very bloody good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see him. He's obviously playing the game at sometimes, and then, like you said, he kind of shifted his online persona. Some folks told me that that was his plan all along. That he at some point he was going to be super flashy, just like his website was at first to gain users, and he's buying all this designer clothing and just throwing money around, right? And now like you said, he's acting a little bit more reserved, but what I'm saying, I guess, was when I hear him speak, it's like he sounds super genuine and real, and I think that's kind of what is getting this entire, if you want to call it a cult or just a following, but people referring to themselves as Richard Hart Maxis. I think that says a lot about the community and about him. When I first got into crypto, into Bitcoin back in 2017. BitConnect was one of the top cryptocurrencies at the time, billions of dollars in market cap. I can't remember exact numbers and figures at the time, but the coin was over $400. You met Carlo, what's his name? Carlo Matos, the fellow who is notorious for screaming BitConnect at a conference in Thailand when BitConnect was soaring and people were making money, or so they thought, before the whole thing came crashing down. What was your experience meeting Carlos there, and what did you learn, if anything?
Oh, mate, that was one of the most intense interviews I've ever had. But I mean, yeah, no, it was really, really entertaining, that's for sure. The guy was on fire, absolute fire. The amount of energy, you could feel it through his eyes as he stared at you. So, but what did I learn was that, yeah, there are these characters again in crypto that can really, hype people up. And I think has been one of those people. I understand he left Twitter actually shortly after I interviewed with him. I saw that he was leaving Twitter or something. So I guess he'd had enough or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're part of when you're part of something that goes down as hard as BitConnect did, you probably get a lot of hate and people that have lost money and then that are going to blame you because maybe he may not be the creator or whatever, but he was definitely a face of BitConnect and a meme and a GIF that I'm sure will be around for a long time to come for those who can remember the downfall of that Ponzi scheme. I'm pretty confident to call it a Ponzi scheme. I mean, I know they got a cease and desist letter, and then it just all came crashing down from there. So that's all I can assume. I haven't really delved too much into it. I just wrote it off and concentrated on things that are more what I find to be more important.
Well, something interesting that I've been doing with the Hex documentary as well, and you'll see that that's available on Uncut as well through the Bit Joinery. And anybody that is in the Bit Joinery, I've been airdropping the full uncut interviews from the Hex doco because there was like 30 interviews, some almost 25, 30 hours of content there that I was like, well, I'll start delivering this, distributing it as NFTs to those people that are early adopters in the Bit Joinery as well. And you'll see, I think it was the end, a couple of days ago, I dropped the last one, the 30th interview, and it was with Carlos Matos, and you can see the entire full interview there. I think you can see it publicly on there as well, but I figured that was an interesting way to distribute that content because it makes it makes the early adopters feel a little bit special because, they've got the Carlos Matos Gillespie interview as an NFT or whatever. So again, experimenting with different distribution methods there. And in that interview, you'll see if you can find it, or if it's tradable or whatever, I guess people can trade these things, I don't know. You'll see that I ask him specifically, how is it now, this many years after the BitConnect drama? And his response just seemed to be, he brushed it off to one side and suggested, it's history now, but I have been approached by people to create a meme coin, a Carlos Matos coin, and he has had a lot of offers from the community to do ridiculous shit like that. And he also seemed to believe that none of it was actually, the way that he spoke of it was like none of it's actually real anyway. It's all sort of FUD and FOMO that drives the behavior of human behavior that affects the price of whatever asset. The rest, the actual utility is irrelevant a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason I got in when I first got into crypto was just definitely FOMO, fear of missing out, man. Like you see it popping up, you're new in the space, you don't really know a whole lot yet, and it's easy to fall in, and maybe that's what's happening with Hex, PulseChain. I don't know. PulseChain is supposed to be like another Ethereum, and it's going to allow these hexagons to trade with PulseX, like a Uniswap, make these transactions, because I've been playing around with Hex a little bit, and even to make it, if you want to mess around, you only want to mess around with a little bit of money, and Ethereum basically takes all that money for each transaction that you make. And I thought, the fees were supposed to be going down. I'm not seeing that happen. And PulseChain, I'm seeing trending on Twitter, PulseChain, PulseX. I saw yesterday withdrawals just went live on testnet version 4 for PulseChain. So, I mean, is this because you investigated Hex? I mean, wouldn't your natural tendency to want to move on to PulseChain and see if it's like the next BitConnect X, like to BitConnect? Is it or is PulseChain is real? They're saying other projects are coming live on taking their token to PulseChain, are going to operate on there. Is this kind of where you personally would like to go? Is there something else that stands out in the crypto community more so?
I mean, it's a natural evolution. to go on and have a hand and create a production about PulseChain and like you say, all these other ecosystem tokens that seem to be wanting to launch upon that chain. I'm trying to stay unbiased, and I selected those 8 votes. So I did that for a reason, because I was looking at customer feedback from the previous productions that suggested to look into some like Pulse or Ripple or Tether or Zen is one as well. But I honestly think that you can reach a broader audience if you can figure out, a universal storyline. And I think CBDCs would make for a cracking documentary. Metaverse, a lot of promises there as well. But if we were to go and get hyper focused and go deep into the crypto rabbit hole, it's projects like Pulse, it's projects like Zen. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I'm not.
Those ones that they're quite fresh and new, and I think that's kind of where the most exciting stories potentially are. Tether arguably is an interesting one, and Ripple, purely because of the shit that they've accumulated over their reputation over the years. But the thing with investigating these niche coins, or these sort of super, in-depth crypto bro fucking projects, is nobody really has ever heard of them or gives a shit about them. And by me investigating them, I shine a light on those projects, which has 2 results. One is it gives it what is what I assume the Excans thought about my doco, is that they get they get a free marketing out of it, which is a bonus, a plus for them. It's what I've noticed is people want to turn any opportunity into a marketing opportunity, right? All PR is good PR, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. But for me, it's what is the universal message of this new technology or this new application? And how can I dissect it and present it to a broader audience so that they might take something home from it, right? Which is what a good documentarian does.
Now, you've had other exposures. I saw that you were on Bad Crypto podcast with Travis Wright, Joel Comm. I was lucky enough to have Joel Comm on my show last year sometime. He's a super funny guy. What was your experience with those fellas?
Yeah, no, that was a good crack, actually. I had a good time with those guys. And I mean, I've listened to their podcasts over the last few years as well, and I like their approach. It's pretty relaxed, pretty open, and yeah, no, I haven't had much communications with them previous to that session or afterwards, but I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to be on that podcast, because that, like I say, they've been around a good long while as well, right?
Yeah, I think, probably one of the more popular podcasts in the space. One of the first ones I had come across, and was listening to those guys for a while. I've since fallen off a little bit. I tend to watch, Pomp clips or Peter McCormick interviews, and lately Richard Hart videos, man. Just watching what he's saying about the community. Controversial, but seems like he's calling a lot of things correctly over the years. So not that I'm going all in on his ecosystem or anything, but just kind of paying attention to, like you said, what's happening kind of deep down the crypto hole.
Well, you got to keep your finger on these things as well, really, if you're going to stay up to date on what's happening. And what I've noticed actually with the Hex community is they have fractured a little towards the end of my production. They were fracturing and starting to launch their own projects in anticipation of Pulse launching. And there are some of those individuals that got some shit for doing that, because they, other guys thought that they were messing with the Richard's, intentions or visions for the chain, which is kind of interesting to see this fracture amongst the this community members. But also when I noticed this Zen project where it seemed to be that they'd taken a lot of influence from what Richard was trying to do, essentially building an ecosystem of tokens and coins. He's trying to capture the DEX with the PulseX, the PulseChain, and then there's like some obscure tokens. I think Hedron was one, and a bunch of others that have certain applications towards benefiting the community long term, I guess. And that's what I've seen other projects are starting to do now. For example, there is Zen, which seems to be trying to build an ecosystem of tokens, and then there's this other one called Fatty. Have you heard of Fatty?
Fatty token? Fatty coin?
Yeah, with a PH. I don't know if it's called
No.
Fatty Coin, but it launched last week, and that's one of the Hexacom fellas that I'd been talking to, who's launched that with his mates last week, and they launched it on Ethereum, but they're bringing it to PulseChain or some shit. I've been looking at that as well and seeing what those guys are up to, and they seem to be doing the same thing. They're building this tree of this ecosystem of coins and tokens that all sort of somehow interoperate to benefit those that are the smartest motherfuckers in the room, of which there is a hell of a lot, actually. I've noticed there is some very smart, a lot of ex-finance guys have been attracted by building in this space. And I think those guys are probably at the forefront. They're the biggest innovators in terms of financial depths and what have you. But yeah, it's not for me to decide what I investigate next. It's for the broader crypto community.
Going back to Scooter Coin, your original investigation there. After our last podcast, I was looking at a lot of your material, and I went over to Bitman 360, and not gonna lie, man, it looks a lot like you with a wig on. So was this some sort of marketing stunt, or what's happening there?
Oh, listen, I've said it before. Internet loves a good conspiracy, right? I met Bitman 360 through my brother's little kid, Timmy, who wanted to get in on the scooter coin extravaganza back then in 2019. Didn't work out, but he's a Swedish fella, as you would have seen if you've watched the Fake Fluencer. I'm half Italian and 100% Australian. So if you look at any of Bitman's early materials, see he's obviously a Swedish guy impersonating an Aussie fella, right? So
okay, that's what it is. That's what it is. Okay. Well, we're gonna track down this Bitman 360 and hold him accountable for all those scooter coins that you lost because of him, or went down in value. I don't know how that went down.
I'd appreciate that, mate. You should get him on the show as well. He doesn't shut up at all. He just goes on and on and on. He honestly, he had a really solid proposition with the Buttercup 3 device, and all these years later we are seeing these move to earn coins where human beings put in like an energy, whether it's running or whatever, boating, even watching TV, people are earning crypto from watching stuff these days. So I think he was on the right path, but the guy's just a shitty entrepreneur. If you look at his Twitter account, his tag is ScooterCoin Wantrepreneur because he wants to entrepreneur, but he just can't figure it out.
This maybe you could put a word in for me actually, and then maybe we can get Bitman 360 on the show, and we can investigate do a little investigation ourselves here on the Halving Report, and hold them accountable a little bit for that scoot coin, because I don't like when chaps get away with that kind of thing.
Oh, well, I mean, he's the original fake influencer, so you need to get him in the room and scrutinize that little bugger because he's got away with a lot, up to now. But I understand that he only exists in the metaverse these days. He doesn't do any physical appearances anymore.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, in that case, I guess I won't see him at any conferences. Halving Report's going to have a presence at the Blockchain Futures Conference here in Toronto, Canada. I'm in Niagara region, just an hour south of there. Have you been to Canada before?
I haven't, but as I've tweeted a number of times before, I fucking love Canadians.
Well, how can you not love Canadians, man? We're the most polite people of all of Earth.
Agreed. I've never met a Canadian that I didn't like.
That's awesome, man. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you want to come up for the first time, and you can meet us in real life at the Blockchain Futures Conference. If you're interested, let me know. We got some hookups for that. I'm gonna open it up for you. If you have anything else that you want to tell us about that you're working on, or maybe leave us with some words of wisdom. If not, just let us know where we can follow you and learn more.
Right on. Appreciate the time, mate, that you've spent with me here. Yeah, I'd love to come to Canada, and I'm going to check out that conference and see if I'm available for those dates, and I'll be there if I can, mate. Yeah, apart from that, like I say, I'm trying to put this studio collective together. Honestly, at this point, it's more of a startup than a DAO. I'm confident that it makes sense because all the value that is created, is directly compensated. There is no extraction of value in this system. And there is a PDF, a TLDR, in the both in the Discord and the Telegram group that you can access through thebitjoinery.com. So I suggest if you're interested in, if you're a creative minded person, or you're a marketing minded person, those two worlds are colliding. We've got I think we have 69 members on the collective at the moment that have minted. But like I say, 150 is max. So once 150's in, that'll be it, basically. So, not to FOMO.
Yeah, sounds very finite there, just like 21 million Bitcoin, man.
Ask me why I chose the number 150.
Why 150?
Because it is the Dunbar number. And the Dunbar number suggests that you can only really know about 150 people at any time in your life. And that's why I kept it at 150.
150. Wow. I'd imagine that number must have evolved over time because back in the day, before the internet and all the telephones, people probably had pretty small circles, and now it's like, geez, some people have thousands and thousands of friends on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and it's like, are you guys really friends, or are you guys, everyone's just a lot of acquaintances?
But that's the thing, that's why this number is so important, because it's our physical brain capacity can only maintain up to 150 relationships, regardless of digital or physical. So the idea
interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I can go on and on. Again, appreciate the opportunity, mate. Get in the Telegram for passive updates, or the Discord if you want to produce the next documentary with me.
Cool, man. I like what you're doing. Thanks for coming on to the Halving Report, Tom.
Right on, mate. Thanks a lot.
Hey, you. Thanks for listening to the Halving Report podcast. If you want to support the show, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification on YouTube. If you want to up your digital asset security, go to halvingreport.com/BitFi and you will get a $30 discount. If you're a Canadian and you want to get into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency for the first time, go directly to bitbuy.ca/halving to get your first $20 free when making your first $250 transfer. And let us know when you have, and we'll give you something extra.